still showing up. Okay. Hi, good evening. Welcome to India Karega Invest, our initiative to reach out to all with an interesting topic every time with a very interesting personality. So today we have Mr. Nilesh Shah. So Mr. Nilesh is the managing director at Kotak Mahindra Mutual Fund. He has 25 years of experience in the asset management space. So apart from being known as a renowned fund manager, Mr. Nilesh is also a great storyteller. So we are eagerly looking forward to hear from you, sir. But let me introduce today's topic. What is that retail investors can take out? What I remember from budget is, I think, just few years back, it's always that headlines, what got expensive, what got cheaper. There was a lot to take home for a retail investor or a man from that point of view that some of the products really, the decisions taken on some of the products really impacted on the like on an immediate basis, and then subsequently the changes in the income tax slab. But I think with all the goods and services coming under GST ambit, any which way that is ruled out since 2017 onwards, then subsequently what was left for a common man was the income tax slabs per se, how much tax we paid, or especially the direct taxes. So this year, government not altering anything at the income tax slab. Many people really said that no news is good news kind of a scenario. But there were a lot of interesting decisions which were taken, and the focus were given to areas like, say, infrastructure. We got to hear the words like capital expenditure or infra spend going up to 7.5 lakh crores with 35% increase in expenses, or the so-called PLI schemes for hardware of IT services and so on. I'm sure there are many sectors which are expected to be benefited from the decisions taken by the government, and the policy experts and economists, some segment of them are hailing this as a budget which will really help the growth of India for the coming years. So, without wasting much time, I would like to invite Mr. Nilesh to hear from him. I would love to know your perspective, sir. One, about the budget, and then how will it impact retail investors like us, and what is the view we should have in the coming year? Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Karthik. Thank you, Groww family, for inviting me over here. Karthik, if you remember, there is an English proverb which says that if you give fish to a man, you feed him for a day. If you teach him fishing, you feed him for a life. This budget is an attempt by the government that instead of giving fish to Indians, we teach fishing to them so that they can be on their own for the rest of their life. How is this budget trying to achieve that? This budget is trying to reverse the last 2 years of providing fish to a person. In March 20, COVID-19 came and hit. We had to announce lockdowns to protect life of our people. That resulted into massive unemployment. Migratory workers were walking back to their home state. There was fear of this disease. So government immediately said, we will give free vaccination to citizens of India, and we will provide free food grains to families who are in distress. Over next 2 years, we have administered 1.6 billion doses. We have provided food grains to 80 crore Indians. No other country has provided this kind of food grains to their people. Our subsidy bill went up from about 2.5 lakh crore in FY20 to 7 lakh crore in FY21, when our tax receipts were just about 14 trillion rupee. Out of 14 trillion rupee, we spent 7 trillion rupee for providing food grains and fertilizers and oil or LPG gas to people. Now, can a family survive when they spend 50% of money on subsidy? Answer is no. Should we move from giving fish to teaching fishing? Answer is undoubtedly yes. How do you do it? The only way government can do it is by spending on investments. Karthik, when I was very young, I had heard this story about a multinational company who wanted to come and set up a plant in Nagpur. As you know, Nagpur oranges are very, very juicy, very, very delicious, very, very tasty. They wanted to buy oranges, convert it into pulp, and transport to Mumbai. They had to enter in Bombay Port Trust, Mumbai Port Trust, because there was no JNPT in those days. And then they wanted to export that pulp. Now, when they tried doing that on a pilot basis, there were no proper roads in those days. There were octroi check nakas, and pulp had to be transported in refrigerated containers because you wanted to keep it fresh. By the time that pulp came from Nagpur to Mumbai, the pulp was already stale. Now, today, we don't have this yet, but in a year or two, there will be Nagpur Mumbai Expressway. It will take 13 hours to move cargo from Nagpur to Mumbai. There is no octroi check naka in between where the inspector will try to open up and see what it is. You don't have to come to Mumbai inside because that will take 2 hours. But you can straightway go left to JNPT and your cargo will be up and there in the ship in probably another 12 hours. So it is possible today to set up an agro processing plant in Nagpur and shift pulp to JNPT and export it. Now, do you think that kind of infrastructure is needed to create agro industry, to create jobs, to create an employment? Answer is undoubtedly yes. When we got independence, we had the highest length of railway track in Asia. But we were not building railway track later on. When the first train traveled between Mumbai to Thane, and I'm trying to remember the numbers, but the average speed of a train between Mumbai to Thane in those days, or average time taken between Mumbai and Thane in those days was 1 hour and 25 minutes, 1 hour and 15 minutes. And today Mumbai Thane is 1 hour. Imagine a steam engine of 18th century and electric engine of 21st century. The speed difference is 15%. So we need to invest in infrastructure. We need to develop infrastructure. On that, businessmen will set up industry. This budget has provided 7,50,000 crore for building infrastructure. 1,80,000 is going in roads. Today, if you want, like, I remember traveling from Mumbai to Ahmedabad, it was roughly about 15 to 16 hours journey. Today, I travel Mumbai to Ahmedabad in about 8 hours. When you move at that speed, your working capital comes down, your ability to deliver on time goes up. The government is spending 1,30,000 crore on railways. World over, Karthik, when goods move on railway, it is cheaper than moving on roads. In India, we move more goods on roads than on railway. Why? Because our railway is entirely carrying passenger trains. The goods train to bichari धीरे धीरे चलती है. The average speed of a goods train in India is 25 kilometers. The marathon runner runs faster than our goods train. If I had hired marathon runner, and it's not possible, but I'm saying in lighter vein, and he would have started running with goods train, that marathon runner would deliver goods faster than my goods train. You can't build businesses on this. Now government has built dedicated freight corridor, and you would have seen those videos of train carrying oxygen, train carrying coal, and running at 75 kilometers an hour. That's why you need infrastructure. Water. I mean, there are so many houses in rural India where water is not available. Now you are building Nal Se Jal Tak. You have allocated 67,000 crore for that. With better quality water, will the diseases come down? Will the population become more healthy? Answer is undoubtedly yes. So building infrastructure is the driver for the economy, and that is what this budget is trying to do. Could this budget would have given, more subsidy to people? Well, in a democratic country, the vote bank will ensure that whatever is needed is done. So if there is a need to provide support to some families for food grains, that will continue inside this budget. There is money for it. But the focus must be to teach fishing to people so that they are on their own. And that is what this budget is trying to do. Now, what is the real problem, Karthik, for us? Our real problem is that 10 to 15 crore people are employed in agriculture and they needed to be shifted out of it. Today, in our labor force, 70% is agriculture, 20% is services, and 10% is manufacturing, roughly. If I make it 50-50, agriculture production will not be impacted even by 1 gram. We'll still produce what we are producing. And then these sectors, if they absorb that labor, you can imagine what kind of growth will happen. Today, TCS is 5 lakh employee company. It's valued at, $100 billion plus. Tomorrow, if TCS becomes 15 lakh employee company, do you think they'll go to $300 billion market cap? Answer is undoubtedly yes. Now, how do we provide 15 lakh engineers to TCS? Now, can a farmer become programmer? Answer is no. It will take time. But can a farmer become plumber, engineer, plumber, turner, fitter, lathe worker? Answer is yes. It's quite easy. So we have to develop manufacturing. That is what government is doing. In this budget, government has said that we will open up defense research for private Indian companies. The government is spending 1,60,000 crore for buying defense equipments. 68% of that will have to be brought from local markets. Now, when Indian military buys guns, howitzers, naval ships from Indian manufacturers, some others will also come to buy from them. We will be able to export also. Moment you start exporting, you have created jobs. The government is saying that we will introduce PM Gati Shakti Yojana to lower the logistics cost. Today, Indian corporates logistics cost is about 14-15%. Globally, it is 7-8%. If I can bring down logistics cost to 7-8-9%, my exports will become competitive, my prices will come down. How do I do this? World over, first preference is given to waterways, then to railway, then to road. In India, we give first preference to road, then to railway, then to waterways. Our costs are high. That Gati Shakti Yojana is trying to change that pyramid. It will take time, but slowly, it's reversing. With logistics improving, you will be able to become more competitive in export. So this budget has focused on spending money with a view to create jobs. The government is saying that I can't give jobs to every Indian. Already most government departments are overstaffed, which is where I want to create an environment where there are better roads, better power, better telecom services, better railway connectivity, better airport connectivity, better housing. And on that infrastructure, I will also give better policies, rules, and regulations so that you don't have to battle with bureaucracy. Now the world is yours. Businessmen come and set up businesses on this infrastructure. You employ more people, give them jobs, give them employment, give them income. Those guys will then spend money. The consumption capacity utilization will go up. They will start making fresh investments. Moment they make fresh investments, new jobs are created, new demand is created, and this whole cycle begins virtuously. So this budget is focused purely on investment, so that we can create growth, we can create jobs, we can create employment, and we don't have to give fish to people. They'll be living on their own.
So, but there's also a very interesting saying what we get to hear. Every 1 rupee what you spend on infrastructure development, almost 2.5 rupees or equivalent to that comes back to economy. So in this whole chain, what are some of the sectors you think which would get the benefits there? What's your take on that?
So the focus of the budget is on road, railway, water, housing. Now, what are the ingredients which go into this? Road, housing, and railway will require cement. They will also require pumps and construction machinery. Now, ball bearings also go into pumps and construction machinery. Valves also go into pumps and construction machinery.
Yeah.
The water will require pipes.
Okay.
So all those industries which are in cement, construction equipments, ball bearings, valves, pumps, engines, pipes, they will benefit from this budget.
Yeah. So there's one word which kind of which was being told many times was the Gati Shakti, the 7 engines of growth. In fact, you also did mention that. Can you please probably elaborate a bit on what is Gati Shakti which government is trying to communicate, and then when they say 7 engines, what are they referring to, and how will it impact the industry per se?
So today in Bangalore, I was speaking to a company and they said that Nilesh bhai, if I dispatch goods from my godown in Bangalore today, in 5 hours, it is loaded onto the plane for onward distribution, for exports. Now, this is a fantastic achievement. This is just in time delivery.
Yeah.
Imagine if your buyer is in, let's say, Dubai. Bangalore, Dubai will be 3 hour flight probably.
Yeah.
In 5 hours, my cargo will be loaded in plane. And let's assume instead of 3 hours, 4 hours for flight, because there will be some airport clearance here, there. And 1 hour to get cleared from Dubai airport to reach Dubai place, or maybe 5 hours there also. So 5 plus 5 plus 10 plus 4, 14 hours you are shifting goods from Bangalore to Dubai. It is just in time delivery. You can even send mangoes from Bangalore to Dubai. In the past, we couldn't send Nagpur pulp to exports because it was getting stale within the journey. Now I can attempt even sending oranges and mango also.
Yeah.
That is the objective of PM Gati Shakti Yojana. It wants to reduce logistics cost from double digit to mid single digit.
Okay.
And this can be achieved if what we have established in terms of processes at Bangalore air cargo clearances is also applied to seaport clearances. If I provide seamless connectivity between road, rail, and sea, today when you go to Mundra port, you could see a big container ship coming and docking at the port. Down below there is a continuous trailer movement. One trailer comes, crane drops the container, it starts moving. That trailer gets cleared from clearing and forwarding agents by e-passage. It gets loaded onto railway if it has to be moved on railway, or that container truck straightway goes for delivery wherever it is required. Gujarat has good connectivity, Mundra has good connectivity with rest of India.
Yeah.
And you are able to reduce this passage time. Now this port, road, customs, railway, if it is seamlessly connected, then you are able to reduce the transaction time, you are able to reduce the cost, you become more competitive. That is the aim of PM Gati Shakti Yojana, to bring synchronization, coordination between road, railway, air, and seaport, to provide faster custom clearance on trust based clearance, where what you declare is accepted at face value.
Yeah.
And that is how Indian industry will become bigger players in exports market.
So, well, yeah, I think from that, if we were to get there in a few years, I'm sure it should really revolutionize. Then does it mean that it's time for us to looking at logistics as a theme in a portfolio with the continued focus, because there's a vision set for the coming years as well.
So in the logistics business, unfortunately, most of the companies are in unlisted segment. For example, railway is not listed in India. For example, there is no road rail company in India like in US. There is hardly any shipping company. Our shipping companies are not cargo companies, they are mainly chartering companies. So, unfortunately, in logistics space, you have very few listed companies. Some companies are clearing and forwarding agents, some companies are road transport companies, but there is no integrated model which is available. So, yes, do invest in logistics companies, but don't make it your total portfolio because there is not enough range available.
The other announcement, what we heard was related to the digital currency for India, the digital rupee. Um, what is the shape you foresee it in taking it, and then what kind of revolution it could bring in an economy like India, having a digital currency of our own?
So, Karthik, there is a lot of hype around digital currency. In a very simple way, it is nothing but a payment wallet by Reserve Bank of India. That 2000 rupee note which you are carrying in your purse is moving into your mobile phone. And even today in India, payment system is very, very efficient.
Yeah,
It is not like France or UK where to transfer money from one bank account to another bank account you require 3 days.
yeah,
We transfer money instantly through IMPS.
yeah, yeah,
So in digital transaction, India is first world and France and England are third world. So
yeah.
for them, having central bank digital currency will be a revolution that you will be able to transfer money instantly.
Correct,
For us, we have been already doing it through Paytm payment gateway, through Bharat Pay, through Phone Pay, through Google Pay.
correct.
The difference is that when I invest in Google Pay wallet, I'm taking credit risk on Google Pay. Now, Google is a great company. I don't have to worry about them, but it is still a company. Whereas when I use digital currency of central bank, it is credit risk on central government, it is credit risk on central bank that is infinitely more credit worthy than Google Pay.
Okay.
Second thing is the competition.
Yeah,
Today Google Pay, Bharat Pay, Phone Pay, Paytm doesn't charge us for transactions.
yeah.
But ultimately they are here for making money. So someday they will start charging.
Yes, absolutely.
If there is central bank digital currency, they'll be worried about business and they won't charge exorbitantly.
Okay.
Third thing about launching central bank digital currencies, futuristic planning. All digital currencies will be based on blockchain.
Yeah,
And blockchain is the emerging technology. We didn't invent we didn't participate in industrial revolution. We paid price for 200, 300 years. Now digital revolution is happening. We can't afford to miss that out.
yeah.
Now blockchain is the future. चढ़ जाओ उसके ऊपर. Figure out how it works. And our engineers are so smart. They will provide solutions to the rest of the world. Today, our payment network, UPI, Bheem, they are far better than Western networks.
Yeah.
So today, we are first world in digital transactions.
Yeah.
Very recently, you would have read New York Times report that Americans are losing that physical vaccination certificate and it's creating nightmare for them, and they have to go and get duplicate certificate. In India, I just have to SMS and I get WhatsApp certificate.
Correct.
That is the digital power of India. So we are trying to remain leader over there by mastering blockchain technology, for which launching central bank digital currency was critical. So
Yeah.
it's what is one bird killed with three stones or three birds killed with one stone, whichever is appropriate.
Okay. In fact, so picking your on the rural economy, I think the interesting announcements were, like you mentioned, sir. One is the Jal Jeevan Mission, where the allocation given to was increased by a great number. And even Gram Sadak Yojana also saw a good amount of increase in the budgetary allocation. But at the same time, on the opposite side, the subsidy towards food and fertilizer has been reduced by 20 odd percent. Will it nullify the benefit of the Jal Jeevan Mission and the Gram Sadak Yojana? Will it have an adverse impact on the rural economy?
So, Karthik Bhai, I'll give you my example. When I was small, my mother was carrying me. Everywhere she carried me because I was small, I didn't know how to walk. So maybe I think 12, 18 months she was carrying me. If I insist that my mother should carry me now, what do you think she will do? She will whack me, saying that idiot, start walking. My mother put me down at 12th month or 18 months so that I can walk on my own. If my mother had thought that no, how my boy will fall down, let me carry her, let me carry him, let me carry him, what would have happened today? Will I be able to stand on my legs? Answer is no.
Okay.
So you have to give subsidy when it is needed.
Okay.
But if you make subsidy permanent part of a person's life, you are destroying them.
Okay. Yeah.
We have to move from giving fish to teaching fishing.
Mhm.
And please appreciate that this government is doing when there are 5 state elections. In the past, Indians have underperformed all other countries like South Korea, Taiwan, Indonesia, Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand, China, Japan, because we were always focused on short-term gain, never bothered about long-term pain.
Yeah.
We always like mother who will carry the kid, in hand. But we always hated the mother which was telling the kid that start figuring out how to walk, and if you fall, so be it. You will get hurt once, twice, thrice, but you will learn walking and then you will run. Now that strategy has to be changed. For 70 years others have run ahead of us and हमको माँ carry कर रही है आज भी. Now a बाप has come which is saying that बेटा चलना सीख अपने आप पे, थोड़ा गिरेगा ठीक है, थोड़ा pain होगा ठीक है, but then you will start running and catching up with others. That's the difference.
Yeah, no, I mean, makes sense. That's a very good analogy. Um, but also, an interesting perspective was brought in was the taxing the so-called crypto investments. Finance Minister categorically mentioned it is not a currency because it's not a mode of exchange yet, and I don't think we would recognize it as a mode of exchange. So they are all digital assets. Are they here to stay? We have seen a good phenomena of investments happening. A lot of new gen investors move towards crypto, the crypto and NFTs per se. Are they here to stay? What's your take on that?
So, frankly speaking, Karthik, it is too early to make a definitive statement.
Okay.
If I give you all the negatives first,
Okay.
well, crypto is nothing but official hawala market. You are transferring money without the regulatory acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Now, along with investors, will there be smugglers and black marketeers and terrorists who will be using cryptos? Answer is undoubtedly yes. We can't rule that out because it gives them immunity against transfer of money.
Yeah.
Second, how do you value crypto?
Yeah.
It's only valued on fear and greed.
Yeah.
The day Karthik believes that Nilesh will buy this crypto at a higher price from me, he is a buyer. The day Nilesh believes that Karthik will not buy from me this at a higher price, I'll be a seller. So it's a play of fear and greed. There is no underlying value. Now, what are the benefits? Well, when I want to transfer rupee to dollar, I pay 2-3% transaction cost. When I transfer it via crypto, there is no transaction cost.
Yeah.
Number two, there are some cryptos where issuance is limited and hence there is no excess supply.
Yeah.
Now, we really don't know where the crypto's future will be.
Okay.
On one side, there are die-hard players who says Bitcoin will touch $1 million, 1 million someday. And
Yeah.
then there are Warren Buffett and Russell Napier kind of people who says crypto's value will be zero.
Zero.
We don't know where the truth is. What we should do as a nation and as an individual,
Okay.
as an individual, I should treat crypto as a high risk, high return gamble.
Yeah.
It is not cryptocurrency. It is
Yeah.
crypto assets.
Crypto asset.
If you go to Goa, you might go to casino for playing.
Yeah.
You will carry limited amount of cash. जीते तो जीते, हारे तो हारे, रात गई बात गई, सुबह घर को आ जाओ. Treat crypto like that. Put only that much money which you can afford to lose, and you will not lose sleep over it after losing it. Now, as a nation, we have to ensure that crypto is regulated.
Yeah.
We can't allow poor people to get lured by crypto. You see advertisement, they give guaranteed return on crypto.
Yeah.
How are you guaranteeing return? Where is the thing?
Yeah.
So there is a lot of mis-selling happening in crypto. We have to ensure that those mis-selling stops. It is properly regulated. The taxation is the first part towards regulation. There should be responsibility on people who are selling cryptos, marketing cryptos. They have to show the risk factors along with the performance. And we have to hope and pray that eventually India becomes a big player in crypto if it is the future technology, if it is the future. And if not, we should be able to take a shortcut, cut our losses, and move out.
100%. Yeah. No, I mean, definitely makes sense. Um, Moving on to the next topic, sir, I think Pradhan Mantri Awas, the budget allocated towards the urban segment this year is higher. Now, the moment we see higher budget allocation to a sector like Awas Yojana, then start thinking about real estate companies, construction companies, and so on. But I've also heard others say that at equity level, we don't have too many options or choices, right from the corporate governance issues, clean management. There are multiple issues what you face picking up real estate or construction companies. How much of investable opportunities are available in India now with Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana giving allocation to urban thing? Is it affordable housing? Should we pick up stocks relating to that?
So, Karthik, you have raised a very, very important point that in real estate governance is at a premium. There are very few builders who will not deal in cash. There are very few builders who will take good care of their customers. And there are very few builders who will deliver everything on time. This is dominated by less governance companies and people. Most of the builders deal in cash. They don't care for their customer. They take their customer for a ride and so on and so forth. So we want to play this Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana as well as the real estate boom via home improvement companies. If you build houses, cement will be used. If you build houses, paints, tiles, plywood will be used. If you buy house, you may take borrowing. So home finance companies will be there. If you build houses, wires and cables will be used. TV, fridge, AC, fan will be used. So it is far better to play via better governed companies in home improvements, while cement, tiles, paints, cables, wires, electric lighting, consumer durables, home finance, insurance companies who provide fire insurance, health insurance. That segment is far better than playing pure developers or construction companies because governance is poor there.
Uh, yeah, I think that's definitely a challenge which every the portfolio manager would have, at least in Indian markets. But I'm sure with the years passing by, things are getting a lot cleaner in that space. Um, uh, Moving on to the next segment, sir, the clean energy space. I think India made a good commitment to reduce the carbon emission, and by, if I'm not wrong, 20, 70, 50 or 70, I'm not sure on the number, that we would be a zero carbon country. So this budget also has some uh, move towards that. Then, what are some of the sector views you have on that clean energy or green energy?
So Karthik, today Indian equity valuations are at a premium to rest of the world. If our companies earn 1 rupee, market gives us valuation of $20, 20 rupee. In Russia, 1 rupee will give you valuation of 8 rupee. In Brazil, you will get 10 rupee. In South Africa, you will get 15 rupee. In China, you will get 18 rupee. So, अपना रुपया का वैल्यू ज्यादा है. Why? We are growing faster. We are democratic country. ये सब तो है. But our country's environmental, social, and governance is considered far better. In Russia, there was a richest Russian called Mikhail Khodroversky. One day he fell out with the government. उसको उठा के जेल में डाल दिया. His company became zero. There was another Chinese called Jack Ma. He was liked by all over the world as the most famous Chinese. One day he also fell, and he also does not know why he fell apart, but he fell apart with the government. He was out of Alibaba.
Yeah.
This doesn't happen in India. Our country's environmental, social, and governance track record is far better than our peers, and that's why we get premium valuation. This budget has given the message of growth with green and governance. How are we promoting green? We went to COP26. Brazil and Russia boycotted it. We went there and committed that in 2070 we will be net carbon neutral country. We are the first major economy which has defined that way. Now, this budget, we are saying that we will launch sovereign green bond, and those monies will be used for environmental protection. We have created policy for blending of fuel. So with 2080 blending, only 80% will emit, bad things like carbon monoxide. 20% will be safe.
Yeah.
We are launching blending of. Uh, we are making compulsory to blend biomass pellet, which is made from farm subtals. I hope I have pronounced it correctly, which will be blended with thermal coal to generate thermal power energy. With 892, your emission will come down to the extent of 8%. We are talking about launching electrical mobility through interoperability standard and battery swapping. We are giving 19,500 crore PLI scheme for solar energy, solar panel manufacturing. So these are all the steps which will convince the world that India is serious about its 2070 target. It is taking step. The growth in India is green as well as with governance, and that's why our 1 rupee gets valued at 21 rupee, whereas others get valued between 7 rupee to 18 rupee.
So one particular segment probably which suffered most during COVID was the MSME segment. There's also some kind of reports during the first lockdown and second lockdown was that close to 7 lakh companies shut down.
Karthik, will you be able to give me a 2-second break? This is work from home requirement. My bell is ringing. I'll have
No,
to
no
just
problem.
go and open the door. Please
Yeah, sure.
excuse for a second.
No problem. Let's wait for us for a couple of seconds, everyone. Very interesting discussion. Couple of interesting points expected. We are going to talk about MSME and what are the support measures which is taken by the government to help the SMEs to stay afloat. And subsequently, we're going to talk about fiscal deficit in the sense how much we are spending, how much more we are spending. Will it really affect India as a country's credit rating? How healthy we are financially? And finally, every day we get to hear or read about inflation, not just in India, across the globe. What are some of the impact or possible impact of inflation? Will it really dampen the growth? Okay, these are some of the questions what we'll be discussing. That will set the tone for the next year's market outlook. Can you post a few questions? We would love to take up questions on the channel. Please post a few questions to Mr. Shah. We will ask from him and then get to know the perspective. So I just want to know from all of you, what was your take on the budget? How do you think it would impact you as a retail investor? Okay, so Mr. Nilesh is back.
Thank you, Karthik. These are
back.
all the perils of work from home.
Yeah, I think last 2 years we have really seen a lot of interesting things of work from home. So this is just one of those things. Thank you. Yeah, shall we continue?
Yes.
Okay. Just a moment. So we are talking the MSMEs essentially. There were some of the reports where I remember reading close to 7 lakh SMEs were closed during that time and so on. So in order to support the MSME, the government announced or it is continuing the emergency credit line guarantee scheme. The overall intention is to support the MSME because generally that's considered as the backbone of Indian economy. How will this help? What is this? How will this help? And to what extent it would have an impact on the Indian economic turnaround what we are experiencing now?
So MSME has been hit maximum by the pandemic. We have about 6.6 crore MSMEs, but of which 89%, more than 5.5 crore, are having zero employees. They are self-employed people running a small shop here or there.
Yeah.
Second, the other small and medium enterprises which are there, they are essentially very, very unproductive. Most of them survive with very, very low employees and not following minimum wages or taking advantage of taxation, arbitrage, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Now, these are the entrepreneurs who need direction. And this pandemic came and hit them very, very badly. Many of them had to shut down their business because it was difficult to survive. Now, can we resolve MSME issues with one solution? Answer is no. Can we resolve it in 1 year? Answer is no. It's a multi-year problem and multi-dimensional problem, and we will have to create resolutions at various levels. What works in Maharashtra may not work in Karnataka. What works in Karnataka may not work in Bihar. So what is that we can do? One, we have to ensure that MSMEs get equity capital.
Yeah.
What we did with emergency credit guarantee scheme, that's fantastic. But
Yeah.
that has given debt. We also need equity.
Yeah.
So can we set up a venture capital fund, a private equity fund exclusively for SME funding? If we bring money from government as well as other investors and make this money available to small and medium enterprises, they will do well. Second, we also have to reskill this MSMEs. They have no technology and
Yeah.
they are getting challenged in this current scenario. Now, how do we provide them technology and reskills so that they can compete with the best?
Yeah.
Globally, we have seen tier structure. So there is a giant company, let's say like Tata Motors.
Mm.
It will buy goods from maybe 30 suppliers. Those 30 suppliers will in turn buy goods from 300 suppliers. Those 300 suppliers in turns will buy from 3,000 suppliers. And those 3,000 may have 30,000 suppliers.
Yeah.
So there is a pyramid. The big guy at the top provides technology to this 30. This is how you make, this is how you assemble, this is how you buy.
Mm.
That 30 takes care of 300, this 300 takes care of 3,000, 3,000 takes care of 30,000.
Yeah.
Creating those tier structures will ensure that the bottom of the pyramid MSME also has access to technology and skill. The third thing for MSME is working capital. When they supply good, they don't have money.
Money.
Now,
Yeah.
if their monies get stuck, they are dead.
Yeah.
It is like, I am such a thinny guy. I'm surviving on a daily basis what I eat.
Yeah.
Now, you don't give me food for 7 days, I'll be dead. Our MSMEs are like that. They don't have capital. So, how do we ensure that their working capital remains very, very low?
Yeah.
Ensure that their payments are made. Ensure that we can provide them buying on a little bit of credit.
Yeah.
And there are so many other things which we will have to resolve. But Karthik, let me tell story about what happened in Morbi. Morbi, as you know, is a small town in Gujarat.
Yeah.
In 80s or somewhere, when I was a very, very young kid, maybe it's 70s also,
Yeah.
a dam busted on a Machu river and the entire town was flattened. Nothing was left. Everyone lost everything. Now, in that kind of despair, these people started building their life by setting up tiles factory. They were buying coal to start a clean and they were producing tiles.
Mm.
Now, when you burn coal, it's a lot of pollution.
Yeah.
And these tiles were made virtually in a very, very primitive way. Quality kuch nahi thi, size variation, Bhagwan bharose, and everything was sold in black market. There was nothing in white economy.
Correct.
But by doing that, they came up in life.
Mm.
Then government, the Gujarat High Court came and said that you can't be using coal in tiles industry anymore because it has created too much pollution. You have to use gas. Now straightway, the entire industry got changed overnight. You can buy coal in black market. You can't buy gas in black market because there were only two government agencies which were supplying. Moment you pay for gas in white, the income tax can calculate, excise can calculate that using this calorific value, this much tiles you have produced. You can't use gas in a small clean. You have to use it in a modern clean. So these companies came together and they started, producing modern tiles with good quality, good designs. Slowly, tiles industry started growing.
Yeah.
Today, we export about 8,000 crore worth of tiles from Morbi. If
Yeah.
you travel from Ahmedabad to north, you see large factories, Chinese factories, which are producing best quality tiles and exporting. Now, Morbi has become an affluent town thanks to tiles industry. That money they invested in clocks. The world's largest clock manufacturer, Ajanta Clock, is from Morbi. Then they moved into calculators, and now they are moving into one more product. I have forgotten what it is. So the town has kept pace with the future. Town has created scale. Town has created white economy business, not black economy business. Town has focused on quality. Town has focused on design. And today, everyone is benefiting. So, how do I create more Morbis all over the country? In Tripur, I can create textile units. In northern India, I can create metal units. What we did with Morbi, directly, indirectly, it might would have happened on its own. But
Yeah.
we need to create many more Morbis all over the India to support our MSMEs.
Wow. Okay. That's a great story to be remembered. I think from 2020 onwards, since the time we saw the pandemic market crash and then subsequent market recovery, I remember doing the session. We said that now market recovery is happening primarily liquidity, the quantitative easing, interest across the globe, and so on. We have seen the benefit across 2021. Now there is a sudden fear that the Federal Reserve start reversing all the policy decisions what they're taken because inflation is really affecting them, pinching them really hard. Inflation at 7% for a US economy is really high. So it sounds like a certain thing that Federal Reserve is going to increase the interest rates. So what's your take, sir? How will it impact Indian market? For me, it almost sounds like 2013 now. Crude oil prices have started going. Suddenly, we see the forex reserve is depleted a bit here and there. What's expected for Indian economy?
So, very important question. And what is the logic? The logic is that when US interest rate goes up, US investors demand higher return from equity investment. And to that extent, prices have to come down because earnings can't grow overnight. Now, see the context. Bank of Japan has cut interest rates and pumped liquidity since 1990. Till today, they have not been able to withdraw out of it. As a friend of mine explained, easy monetary policies like Hotel California. You can get in, you can't get out. There is only one way street. And Bank of Japan has still not made U-turn. Look at European Central Bank. The edifice of ECB is on inflation hawk. But under Mario Draghi, sex change happened. From inflation hawk, they have become growth supporter.
Yeah.
Until today, they have not been able to make U-turn despite German inflation at 24%.
Right.
Will Fed be able to make a U-turn? $1 million question.
Yeah.
Today, Fed is like a firefighter who got a call that there is fire. When? Today, American inflation is 7%. Their interest rate is 0%. Our
Yeah.
inflation is 5.9%. Our interest rate is 4%.
Yeah.
So clearly, our firefighter is still fighting, and American firefighter is sitting saying that मैं डालूंगा. But he's not throwing water right now.
Yeah.
Now, what will they do? Will they be different from Bank of Japan and European Central Bank in raising rates? Will they be like Paul Walker who raised rates? I doubt. I don't think so. Any central banker in the developed world will be able to inflict pain like Paul Walker. All these central bankers will be like Star Trek. If you remember, there was an old serial called Star Trek with Captain
Yeah.
Spock and Captain Kirk.
Yeah.
That USS Enterprise, the battleship, their slogan was to boldly go where no man has gone before. Bank of Japan is the USS Enterprise 1.
Yes. Okay.
It cut interest rates to zero, it pumped liquidity, it bought Japanese government bonds. Now they are buying Japanese equity. They are the largest owner of Japanese equity in the world, and every major Japanese companies they have 5% ownership. Then is European Central Bank, USS Enterprise version 2. They have, you know, you will be laughing when I say this. There was a South African company which was a junk company promoted by a junk promoter. He went to acquire a German company which was 20 times bigger than their size, and he funded entirely by borrowing from European Central Bank. And in no time, that money became NPA. So European Central Bank funded non-European to acquire 20 times bigger European company and wrote off entire amount with that company still shut.
Wow.
So that is USS Enterprise version 2. Now US Fed is USS Enterprise Mothership version 3.
Yes.
Will they be able to raise interest rates to the extent of warranted? I don't think so. There is addiction of low interest rates and high liquidity. It will require humongous effort to get out of it. And unfortunately, neither President Biden will allow that kind of pain to Americans with his ranking falling like a stone, an all time low,
Yeah.
or US Fed will be willing to do that. And which is where there will be rise in American interest rates, but
No.
it will not be fully. Now we don't really care what happens over there. We are more bothered about what happens over here.
Yeah.
And I believe there will be FPI selling because MSCI Emerging Market Index, where India is 12% part, is up 45%. But MSCI India Index is up 100%. So all these FPIs have profit only in India. They can't redeem in Turkey. There is only loss. They can't redeem in China. There is only loss. They can't redeem in South Africa, Russia. There is only loss. So where will they book profit? They will book
Yeah.
profit in India where profit is there. So there will be some selling in India because US is raising interest rates.
Okay.
FPIs will be a seller. It will keep our markets under control. It will keep our markets under check. There will be some volatility because of FPI selling, but
Yeah.
eventually we will absorb this. The
Yeah.
impact will be far lower compared to 2013, but impact will be there for sure.
But India is also battling inflation. I remember reading articles saying that we are going to hit 8.5 kind of a growth rate this year, but the statement of but is the dampener is going to be inflation. You think inflation is going to play such a big dampening role here in India's growth?
So in India, the forecast of RBI for inflation is 5 to 5.5% next year.
Yeah.
And with higher oil prices, it may get revised to 5.5 to 6.
Okay.
But it is still within the RBI's target range of 2 to 6%. Now, 6% inflation is high. It would have been better at 4%.
Hmm.
But Karthik, this year salary increases are between 10 to 12%. When you give salary increase of 10 to 12%, how can be your inflation 6%? So inflation will be little bit higher in India, but it will not be runaway inflation. And I'll ask you a very simple question to justify that. I hope you watch Hindi movies.
Yeah.
When we were kid, Hindi movies were Mother India, Roti Kapda aur Makan and Kali Charan.
Yeah.
The villain was always having a big godown, keeping food grains and doing black marketing.
Yeah.
Now you show me The last movie where villain was a black marketeer in Hindi, Kannada, English, wherever. They are not there. Now the villains are terrorists, politicians, inspectors, and so on and so forth. The inflation numbers have come down. It occasionally spikes because of variety of factors. But RBI has done a great job in managing inflation since 2014 when they were given constitutional responsibility of keeping inflation between 2 to 6%.
Yeah.
So I don't think so inflation will derail India this time unless until something dramatic happens. Uh, if there is a war between Russia and NATO, not Russia and Ukraine, but Russia and NATO, and all the gas supplies and oil supply of Russia shuts down, and then Saudi Arabia decides that I should sell oil to Europe rather than India, then certainly India will be in trouble. Inflation will be high, growth will be low. But bearing those kind of scenarios, inflation is manageable. RBI is doing a great job.
So finally, one last question, sir. It's always this one question for someone who's starting today, or someone with reasonable exposure to equity. What are some of points you think they should keep in mind? Should they be focusing on sectors, or should they be focusing on some thematic funds? What kind of decisions you think they should take so that they don't get affected if there were to be a volatility this year?
So, when I was starting my career, I used to work near Sher Bazaar, and in those days, we used to describe them as Dagladhari Kaka. Dagla is a long overcoat, white color. Old people used to wear it. And I used to go and stand nearer to them and learn from them. So I have remembered few things. One, on Dalal Street, you do Lakshmi Puja once a year, but you do Saraswati Puja every day to make money. The significance is that it's your knowledge and wisdom that gives you edge in making money. You have to read company balance sheets, you have to talk, you have to listen to what management is saying, you have to analyze them. That knowledge, that wisdom is your edge. So please don't just buy because someone mentioned it. Please buy because you are convinced that this is a great company to invest into. Number two, there was a restaurant called Dwarika whose samosa was very famous on Dalal Street. So he said, even when you want to buy samosa of Dwarika, you want to buy fresh samosa. That is quality. You won't buy yesterday's samosa.
Yeah.
Buy always quality. You don't take kachra home. Why will you bring kachra into your portfolio? Always go for quality, quality, quality. Think of investment as if you are trying to find husband for your daughter or daughter-in-law for your son. Will you go and marry them into a crooked family with a criminal, with a guy who is, not good? Answer is no. Even the gangster would like to marry their sons and daughters to a respected person, not to gangster's family in most of the cases.
Yeah.
So why are you giving your money to crooked person? Give it to good guy.
Yeah.
The other thing is that, at least in Gujarati Marwadi family, during Diwali time, you take out what is known as kachra, you clean your house, you throw away all the unnecessary things. And I think it happens in all of India. If for good festival you clean your house, same way you have to clean your portfolio once in a year. We will all make mistakes. The big mistake is if you continue with your mistake. Many a times what we see, Karthik, when people have some profit, they book the profit. And if they have losses, they assume that one day it will recover, so they keep it.
Yeah.
You allow your losses to run and book your profit. That is a disaster. You have to let your profits run and book your losses. So clean up your portfolio. These are all very, very simple things. Then when I came to mutual fund, I realized that there are only three things for an investor to know. One, little drops of water make an ocean. Be a regular investor. Start small, but start regularly.
Yeah.
If you walk for 30 minutes a day, that's good for your physical health. Same way, saving 300 rupee, 500 rupee, 3000 rupee, 30,000 rupee, whatever you can save, but saving it regularly
Yeah.
is very good for your financial health. Do systematic investment plan regularly.
Right.
Second, don't put all eggs in one basket. Diversify your risk. Some equity, some gold, some real estate, some offshore assets. That combination should beat inflation. Not because last 1 year equity return is 100%, so I am in equity. Last 6 months equity return is minus 30%, so I am in debt. Don't make that mistake.
Yeah.
And third, take a long term view. Miracles don't happen overnight. ये सब बिरबल की खिचड़ी है, पकने में टाइम लगता है, but once it is cooked, it is tasty. So invest with long-term horizon. That's more than sufficient for an investor.
Yeah, I think you absolutely not disappointed us at all. I mean, the expectation what all of us had with respect to the stories and driving home the concept of the stories, it's been an absolute delight, sir. Didn't realize that you've passed 1 hour here. Thanks a lot for joining us, and
Thank you.
really got a lot of interesting perspective. Wish all of you very good luck, and thank you.
Thank you, Karthik. Thank you, Groww family.
Thanks everyone for joining in. Happy weekend ahead. Thank you.